As the Boston Bruins begin a 4-game Western Conference road trip, we're talking about how they can succeed, as well as who's the top candidate to win the Nesson 7th Man Award. Let's get into it on a brand new episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Wednesday, February 21st, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your daily routine. Free and available on your favorite podcast app, so whether you're an Apple user, Spotify, Pocket Casts is what I use. Smash that subscribe button so that each new episode is automatically added to your feeds for you to download, listen, and enjoy on a daily basis. The podcast is also available on YouTube, and we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. New customers get $150, I should say, in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. The Bruins are in Edmonton to take on the Oilers tonight. It's a game that will be nationally televised on TNT. We'll discuss that one later on. And also just talk about how the Bruins can shake off that subpar homestand and succeed here on the road. But I wanted to start today with a discussion about the 7th Man Award, or the 7th Player Award, I guess I should say. It's been some hot debates on X, formerly known as Twitter, about this award and who should get it this year for the Boston Bruins. Now, in case you need a reminder, the Nesson 7th Player Award is a fan vote for the Bruin who has performed above and beyond expectations. The 7th Player Award is given each year to the unsung hero on the team, the player that works hard every day for the good of the team without any expectation to be recognized. You can cast your vote online, and you can get a chance to win up to $25,000 towards your choice of roofing, siding, windows, or a deck for your home, courtesy of Mario's Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Now, let's just say off the top, this isn't a serious NHL award. You don't get in the Hall of Fame for winning the Nesson 7th Player of the Year award, but it is meaningful because Bruins get a chance to vote for, Bruins fans get a chance to vote for someone who has impressed them throughout the course of the year, someone who has stepped up and, exceeded expectations. Now, there is a choice of 8 players here to choose from this season. You have Charlie Coyle, Trent Frederick, Morgan Geekie, Parker Witherspoon, James Van Riemsdyk, Brandon Carlo, Matthew Poitras, and Danton Heinen. Now, here's the thing to think about off the top. It's awarded to the player who has performed above and beyond expectations. You could make an argument for Charlie Coyle, who has stepped up and is having a career year as a top center for the Boston Bruins. When it comes to a guy like Trent Frederick, I'd say, he's building upon a solid season last year, and his continued rise isn't really outside of the realm of what was expected for him this season. Yes, he continues to grow and evolve, but that was kind of expected. He's got 15 goals, 17 assists for 32 points in 56 games. There's a case to be made for Trent Frederick, surely, but again, is that above expectations, or is it just the trajectory of growth? Morgan Geekie was signed with the promise of getting more opportunities in Boston, and he's living up to those expectations. James Van Riemsdyk is a veteran guy who's signed to a $1 million deal. He's definitely exceeding expectations. Brandon Carlo, solid top 4 defenseman. Matthew Poitras, there was zero expectations for him this season. But the fact that he's out with a season-ending injury, that kind of takes him off the table, which brings us to Danton Heinen, who I believe should be given the 7th player award. And I say that for a couple of reasons. First, he came into this season without an NHL contract. He arrived at Boston Bruins training camp on a professional tryout offer, and that carried over into the regular season. He remained in Boston with the team, practicing, skating, working out without a contract signed for this season. And that didn't come into play until a few weeks into the year. He's only played 48 games for the Bruins this season, but he's got 10 goals, 9 assists for 19 points in those 48 games. And remember, he did not make his season debut until the end of October 30th to be exact. Now, if you look at Cap Friendly and you go to cost per point, so Heinen's playing on a 1-year, $775,000 contract. He's one of the best value players in terms of cost per point this season. If you look at cost per goal, he is 6th. This is among players not on entry-level deals. Obviously, a guy like Connor Bedard, you're going to get the best value out of him. These are guys who are veteran players, pending unrestricted free agents, playing for contract next year. So he is 6th in terms of cost per goal, behind Michael Carconi in Arizona, Dakota Joshua, Vancouver, Stefan Nason, Tommy Novak, and Jimmy Vesey. If you look at cost per shot, he is 5th, with James Van Riemsdyk coming in 3rd in that respect as well. Cost per minute, a bit further down, but you get the idea here. In terms of the value that he's bringing to the Boston Bruins on a $775,000 contract, it's second only to James Van Riemsdyk. So JVR, I think, has a great case to be made here, but he's an established veteran player who kind of dropped off a little bit, signed that 1-year, $1 million contract, but you could see there, his pedigree and the fact that he's capable of succeeding as he has so far this season. Heinen, there were zero expectations. He went the first few weeks of the season without a contract, kept grinding, kept working, got the contract, even as a hat trick so far this season. Van Riemsdyk, of course, 11 goals, 37 points through 52 games. I think he is worthy of this. Charlie Coyle's worthy of some love as well, as is Frederick. But for me, my vote is going to Danton Heinen, who has completely exceeded all expectations. Now, one part of this trophy that we can't really measure is the player that works hard every day for the good of the team without any expectation to be recognized. I don't know how you measure that. If we're not in the room, how do you even assess that? But the player that has performed above and beyond expectations for me is Danton Heinen all day. And he's a guy that they need some production from here on this 4-game road trip if they're going to have success. And we'll take a look at some of these ways the Bruins can succeed on the Western Conference road trip here as the podcast continues. If you're looking to hire in 2024, then you need Indeed. Indeed is the best hiring platform where you can get not only the highest amount of candidates, but the best quality candidates for your open position as well. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. All you have to do is go to Indeed.com/lockedon. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked On Boston Bruins. Visit Indeed.com/lockedon. And again, if you need to hire, you need Indeed. It's your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Tell them you heard about them on Locked On Boston Bruins. Terms and conditions apply, but if you need to hire, then you need Indeed. Football season is over, but there's still no better way to get in on your betting action than with FanDuel, the official sportsbook of the NBA. You can get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. You can bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live, same game parlays. They have a Explore tab where you can check out some bets you may not have even thought of. You can also get in on the action with the NHL. For example, tonight's over-under for the Bruins Oilers game is set at 6.5. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. The Boston Bruins are kicking off a 4-game road trip out west, beginning tonight in Edmonton. We'll preview that one specifically a bit later in the show, but I wanted to speak about how the Bruins can shake off what was a bit of a subpar homestand and get back on a winning track. We talked yesterday about how the team picked up only 6 of a possible 14 points over the recent 7-game homestand coming out of the All-Star break. And one of the reasons I don't want to say failed, but one of the reasons they did not perform optimally was a lack of scoring. They really kind of went dry in terms of scoring. In fact, over those last 7 games, it's James Van Riemsdyk who has the most goals with 3. And a bunch of guys have some zeros next to their names. Jake DeBrusk, over his last 7 games, 0 goals. In fact, he's got 0 points. I'm kind of glad that I traded him in my keeper fantasy league while he was on that hot streak. I flipped him and Cole Perfetti for Mika Zibanejad. Nobody cares about this, but all that to say, DeBrusk can be a very streaky, inconsistent guy, and he's on one of those dry spells at the moment with 0 points, 0 goals over his last 7 games. He's playing in his hometown tonight, so hopefully that will inspire him to kick things up a notch and get back on the score sheet. Charlie Coyle also has 0 goals over his last 7 games. Some guys with zeros next to their names on the point totals as well. Matt Grzelcyk, Hampus Lindholm from the back end. Oscar Steen, who was sent back, he's got nothing over the last 4 games. Danton Heinen, who I just, pumped his tires as the 7th man. He's only got 1 goal over his last 7 games. So, if DeBrusk and Heinen are going to be in the top 6, then we need to see some production out of them. And that's going to be key in terms of them succeeding on this road trip. It can't just be up to David Pastrnak, Brad Marchand, James Van Riemsdyk. Pavel Zacha has been okay over the last 7 games. Some of these other guys need to step up. And we saw that in the win over Dallas with the 4th line stepping up with Jesper Boqvist, Justin Brazeau hitting the back of the net. Even Anthony Richard has 2 points in 5 games. These guys are outplaying Heinen and DeBrusk at the moment. Now, another way the Bruins are going to succeed is, and this has been key all season long, goaltending. Among teams whose goaltenders have played at least 20 games, only the Bruins have 2 in the top 10 in terms of save percentage. Among goalies who have played at least 20, Jeremy Swayman ranks 3rd with a .922 save percentage. Linus Ullmark is 9th with a save percentage of .914. Now that's well below the Vezina ranking that he had last year. And Swayman is behind Aiden Hill and Connor Hellebuck. But again, we've talked about this all season long. The Bruins have the luxury each and every night of putting out a 1A option in net. A lot of teams do not have that. Most teams do not have that. And the Bruins need to continue to use that to their advantage. And yes, I would argue even into the playoffs, the Bruins need to use that to their advantage, rotating the goalies, or at least not being afraid to make a switch, not being married to one guy and, riding him because that's just what happens in the playoffs. The Bruins have these two goalies. I've heard arguments on social media saying the Bruins have these two amazing goalies and you can only play one of them in the playoffs, so you might as well trade one to add some scoring. Well, I don't think the Bruins are going to do that this season, at least. It might be something they look at in the summer when Jeremy Swayman is owed a hefty new contract. But that argument breaks down because there's nothing that says you can only play one goalie in the playoffs. You can go back and forth. You can rotate these guys. And the way they've been playing, you're going to put Jeremy Swayman in game one, likely. But you can go back and forth between these two guys. And that's what they're going to continue to do on this road trip. That's how they can get some success, because that has been the number one reason for their success so far this season, has been the goaltending. The third and final way that I think they can ensure success is to maybe add some mobility on the back end. They recalled Mason Lohrei because it appears as though Hampus Lindholm is a bit bumped up and may not be able to play tonight, at least. But at the same time, you need to make use of Mason Lohrei on the back end. He has that mobility. He's been successful in his stint earlier this season. Take out Derek Forbort and or Kevin Shattenkirk and get that extra mobility in the mix, especially when you're playing against guys like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl tonight in Edmonton. Get Lohrei in there. He's a big part of your future. He can be a big part of the present. And I would like to see his mobility on the back end there tonight against Edmonton, a game that we will preview here as the podcast continues. If you're looking to level up your vehicle in 2024, then there's no better place than eBay Motors. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. If you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. They have over 122 million parts for your ride, and you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. Keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply, and the eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's preview tonight's game against the Edmonton Oilers. The Bruins beginning a 4-game road trip against a very, very tough opponent in Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and company. This team has experienced quite a turnaround after firing their head coach earlier in the season and replacing him with Connor McDavid's old junior coach from Erie. And he is just insanely hot at the moment with 12 points over his team's last 5 games. They are all assists, so there's a real possibility that he's due for a goal here tonight. He has also risen the league leaders in points and currently sits 3 points ahead of David Pastrnak with 83. He is 11 points still, though, behind Nikita Kucherov and 9 points behind Nathan MacKinnon. But the way he's playing, it's very possible that he could catch one or both of those guys before the season is done. Now, of course, he's not the only dangerous player on the Oilers. Leon Draisaitl still having a fantastic season with 68 points in 52 games. Kind of, slower than his usual production, but still way up there. And the guy who leads them in goals right now is Zach Hyman, who's having a career year with 33 goals through 51 games. Now, offense isn't... Oh, I should also mention Evan Bouchard, who's averaging more than a point per game from the blue line as well. 53 points in 52 games. Of course, offense isn't the problem with this team, and defense, goaltending has been the issue, although their overall team defense is still pretty solid right now. They rank 11th at 2.88 goals allowed per game. The Bruins are better defensively, allowing only 2.64 goals per game, but their offense, of course, not quite as strong as Edmonton's. Boston ranks 13th at 3.32 goals per game, while Edmonton is 5th at 3.56. The goaltending has steadied under Stuart Skinner, who's got a .906 save percentage, and he will likely be in net for this team tonight. Their power play is ranked 4th, always dangerous with the man advantage. The Bruins really need to tighten things up discipline-wise and stay out of the box because their penalty kill has not been up to par as of late. Boston's power play is pretty strong as well, though, at 9th. Pretty even in terms of penalty kill as well. Boston ranks 11th. The Oilers are 16th. Edmonton comes into this one 7-3 over their last 10. They're coming off wins against Dallas and Arizona. The Bruins are 4-4-2 over their last 10 and are only 1-2-2 over their last 5. So they're coming in here, struggling a bit, and we discussed how they can get back on track earlier in the show. David Pastrnak leads the way with 5 points over the last 5 games. Van Riemsdyk with the 3 goals. And again, the Bruins' secondary scoring really needs to step up. I'm looking at you, Jake DeBrusk. Score a goal or 2 or 3 in your hometown, and the Bruins will have a good shot at winning tonight. That's it for today's episode, my friends. Thank you so much for taking some time to listen. We'll be back tomorrow to discuss what happens tonight at Edmonton, to preview tomorrow's game against the Calgary Flames, and to bring you all the latest on the Black and Gold because we're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins.